What's up, folks? You are watching My Sketchy Goodness with Keith Grachow, and of course, hosted by myself. Keith, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm good. We're just chatting about all the things we're up to this week, and I've been trying to push to get Summer on the Swing finished, and then I've got all the YouTube stuff I've been working on, and
Yeah.
so I feel it's funny because generally speaking, I always feel during the week like I could have put in more time or effort and all that stuff. And this week it's like, no, I've actually pushed pretty good Monday
Oh, right
through
on.
today, and Friday will continue that. So like I'm looking forward to the weekend, which doesn't mean anything to a freelancer, but means that I can like I'll feel like I can reward myself by like taking a little downtime, right?
Hell yeah, and I hope you do. Right off the bat, Paul's slipping into the comments. Always great to catch a sketchy show live. Hope you are both well. Your finished Cthulhu digital illustration is amazing, Keith.
Well, thank you, Paul. Paul also he basically bid on the traditionally drawn one to help get Becca Kinsey money towards her Kickstarter, which she actually achieved the goal
Yes.
she had set for herself. So that's very exciting. Thank you, Paul, for that. And of
Thank
course,
you, Paul.
we'll meet up at some point to get you that traditionally drawn Cthulhu sketch. But anyway, how are you doing, Paul? Sorry, how are you doing, Konrad?
I hope Paul is well.
Yeah, yeah.
Paul, thank you so much for always tuning in, always commenting. You're fantastic, and for supporting Keith and getting art from him. It's wicked. I am good. My shirt here is of a local comic creator and rapper, Wordburglar.
Oh yeah, Sean. Yeah.
Yeah, SJ Sean. I always just call him Wordburglar Bergie. Collar's a bit tight on me, so instead of having my mic here, I've opted to put it right on this wonderful comic I picked up a while back. I got it signed by the artist and writer. It's called Reponauts. It's book one by Wong and Grachow. Grachow, wait, that's you. This is your book.
Yeah, it's my book. We thanks for the promo. We actually have been working hard at getting the book in comic shops. So we've got it now in Gotham Central has picked up the book. Worlds Collide picked it up. Tomorrow I'm going to bring the books over to Comic One Book in Stony Creek, so they'll have it. Of course, Dungeon Comics has had it, and what is it? Nefarious Comics in Ottawa has them. So yeah, we're working through. We're getting the books into shops, and we're. I know Howard is going to drop it off at a couple more shops. I hope. Ooh. I believe. And yeah, so any shops out there that want to pick up the book, we have a pretty good deal for you in regards to like what would it cost you, and then we will sign it for you. So there you go.
Awesome, love it. But yeah, otherwise, I've been quite good, as we discussed a little bit earlier, and longtime watchers of the show might remember. I dabble in writing. I've got a story published in Big Smoke Pulp #1, actually created by another local comics creator. I know them as a Toronto, but Pesto Comics.
Yeah.
So I've, as well as on top of that, I should say, I've also just written, enjoy writing. I'm using D&D as a good way to explore writing and character creation, like being the DM. But additionally, I've been entering writing contests. So I've entered one recently for Bow and Chariot. It's, I believe, the written piece. It's 1,000 to 3,000 words, which I feel is like a huge window they've given, which is actually larger than I thought it'd be. But it's due on like the 27th. I won't reveal the prompts in case somehow this gets posted and someone who's involved with it sees it and goes, disqualify this idiot. But basically, they similar to the last one I've done in this, they give me a prompt, and then they give you like I want to say a subject, not specifically a character, not specifically an item, but it's like a subject. So I'm having fun playing with that. I did also want to shout out, for those of you not aware, we are currently live on YouTube. We are also live over on Twitch. So if you're watching this on Twitch, thank you so much. Feel free to anywhere comment. We will read your comments. We will answer questions. Specifically, Keith, if you have drawing questions for Keith, let him know. And otherwise, subscribe, like for more. And as always, keep watching. I'm seeing something very cute start, Keith, and I'm so scared you're gonna just warp it.
I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure out if this is what I want to start with, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right. Then you know what, Keith? Maybe given your work you've been doing on Reponaut and trying to get it into stores, and having done so successfully, let's start with that. What would you say for an indie comic person who's never done the work of trying to get it into a physical store in the our area, Southern Ontario? What are like, I suppose, what's the easier stores that are more likely to handle that or want to take it on, if you care to answer that question? Or perhaps the better question is, what do you need to have along with your comic? Because having the done comic is obviously the bare necessity for them to pick it up and run it in their store. What do you say is the key to like getting them to want to take it?
Well, first of all, you have to make sure that store does support indie. Lots of stores are not like that. Like it's more like, so for example, and this isn't a dig on this store, but Conspiracy Comics, I think they're at the chain, right?
Oh yeah.
In the mall and stuff like that. They're more of like a kind of store that just takes like, you know, like mainstream stuff, and they take like, you know, like it's all like the mainstream like fan stuff that they have, like so toys and collectibles and all that kind of goodness. And so a place I'm not 100% sure that you couldn't potentially present to them. I don't know if they have like, if it's like somebody, an owner, you know, like if it's a franchise and the owner can determine what they have in their store. But I imagine a place like that is probably really just more or less looking for, you know, they're not gonna, they have to order certain things, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like as I'd mentioned, places like Worlds Collide, Dungeon, any place that oftentimes will have like little mini shows, or we'll do a signing, or is a little more of like a mom and pop type place.
Yep.
They're more likely to support indie, and so therefore you just go in and you can always ask them. You can email ahead. So with, for example, with Worlds Collide, Howard actually created like a kind of like like a publicity type of letter, and therefore I just kind of catered that publicity letter towards Worlds Collide, because I knew I actually did a little due diligence, found out the manager, right? So yeah, these are things you can do. Find out who owns the store, find out who's the manager of the store, who does ordering of the books, get their name. If you know, you don't want to surprise them, or you want to make sure they're present, send out a publicity letter with, you know, like, hey, this is who I am. I'm doing, you know, like a tour of my book, and I'd love for you to have it in the shop. If you ever do signings, let me know, that kind of thing. And so I did that with Worlds Collide. I found out who the owner was. It was Brian, very nice guy. I was told he's very supportive of indie people, indie creators. And so when I emailed him, he was like, yeah, sure. We'll order this amount. And then I went over to the shop when I had happened to be at a show that was in the area. So I ordered, I went to drops them off. And while he wasn't there, because I had an email saying how many he wanted to order, the person that was there was like, okay, sure. And they gave me the money and took the books and I
Sweet.
signed them. And, right. So, like that kind of scenario. There's a scenario where, you could just show up at a shop and hope for a, like having the either the owner or the person who ordered books not busy enough that they're willing to like talk to you. I mean, it
Mm,
does help if they know who you are, right? So you're coming in
yep.
and they recognize you. So, a lot of these shops know me or Howard, and therefore us kind of just dropping in unannounced. It may not it may not necessarily mean that they're going to pick up the books then there, but you could always just say, hey, I do have the books on me. If you're really busy right now, I get it. I can come back another time. Uh,
Mm,
would you, like, or would you like me to email you or something? That kind of thing, right? Like, so you just have to be sensitive to the shop owner or whoever the manager is of their time,
yeah.
if you are going to do something like that. And then, um, like the other thing is if there is like a place that has like an event, you can always, while you're there, see if they'll order some books, right? So, if sometimes, um, if you're at a show and the comic shop is there selling their stuff as well, you can always just go, hey, I've got this book. I don't know if you'd be willing to purchase the book or do a trade or something, and
Oh,
so
that'd be
you
cool.
could try it that way. Again, they're there to make money, so you have to be a little bit sensitive to it. I'm always a little bit like, I'm very appreciative of their time. I don't always. It's not. I generally don't like present it that way. I may like buy something from them and go, hey, by the way, I'm a comic book creator, and if you ever want to pick up my books,
Mhm.
let me know. I can show you what it is, and if they're not busy, you can always try that, right? So,
Yeah, right on.
um, and then the final thing you can do, and this is more of the, you know, if you want to try to like reach outside of your area, you take that publicity comic, and then you have to do the work, but you can always like email all these shops all over, you know, Canada, and then the only thing about it is you're gonna have to pay to get it shipped out there. So you have to make sure it's
Yeah.
worth your time to do that, right? So there may not be enough of if you're willing to like really really cut your profit just to get your book in a shop. You could always try that method, but again, it's uh, your call in regards to like what's worth your time and effort. If you're just wanting to get books in shops to get your name out there, that's great. If you're trying to make money from it, then that takes consideration. And then the other thing,
Mhm.
just we haven't really talked about this, but whenever you're creating your comic book and trying to figure out what you should be charging, the way I always try to figure it out
Ooh, yeah.
is, um, how much does it cost for you to print?
Mhm.
Then also, how much if you were to put your shop or your comic in a shop, like how much are you willing to like uh, cut from the final amount you'd want to pay. So our book is 15,
Yep.
and essentially what we've done is we offer it to shops for $10 pop, right? So it costs us
Oh,
$5 roughly to print, a bit more than that. So it's we're making, after all is said and done, we're making a little bit less than a $5 profit, right? Which isn't horrible. If But you have to figure that stuff out, and obviously whatever you're creating, like if it's like a very thin little floppy that you're creating and you're
yep.
charging $30 for it, I don't know if you're going to sell them. Like you may have a really hard time selling a book that doesn't have that many pages. Although, I mean, it depends on who you are. You may be able to get away with it. Our book, because it has a bit of a
Fair.
heft to it, it's got a spine to it.
Yeah.
Uh, like we can ask for a little bit more than maybe what it would be if it was distributed, let's say, by like a publisher, right? Because of it has a bit of a heft to it. But you have to also remember this too, as an indie creator, because you don't have access to the distribution chain,
Huge.
you most likely don't have access to the distribution chain, and also because your print run is going to be pretty low, most likely, right? Because even somebody like me who sells I'm a pretty good salesperson. Um, it's one of those things where I usually don't print anything over 1,000 books, right? But most publishers are going to print like at least a minimum of 5,000, and
Oh yeah.
so your cost of a book goes down much more. And if they do offset, usually offset printing is much cheaper than, let's say, the digital printing is the way I use it. So digital printing is a little bit more expensive, but it's usually done faster, and it's usually uh, you can go to a local person to do it. Whereas doing offset printing, there's not as many printers that do that. It has to be a higher volume, and so there could be the likelihood that you're going to wait much longer to get your books, right? So when you're thinking about those things, like how you can get the price of your book down a bit, how and
Hmm.
then also what you want to make profit from it, as well as like what you would sell it at a shop. It's also one of the reasons why I don't put a price on the book, right? Or UPC symbol
Yes.
or anything, because
Yes.
it's asked, well, why aren't you doing a UPC symbol, right? By some of the shops, and the reason why is, number one, UPC is usually like a ISBN number attached
Yep.
to it, which is something you can register. Usually, you register that through like a library, or you can do it through like you can do a copyright. The Copyright Office of Canada will do that kind of thing, right? Exactly. So with a something like that, which is such a low print run, uh, I don't register with libraries like I would do with a collection. I would. The library is
Hmm.
not going to pick a book up like that. They would want it collected,
Yeah.
and then because it's a floppy, I don't generally. Again, I wait till it's collected to then register something with an ISBN. I mean, you could with a floppy. I don't see why you
Oh
couldn't, but
yeah.
then at the end of the day, as I said, like the price of it, I don't want to put a price on it, because with today's market, it's constantly, you put the U.S. or Canadian price, and it's not worth that. Would it, like a month or two later, it's already fluctuated, right? So I just
Mm.
like to say, you let the shop charge what they want. They want to put it on, um, like whatnot, or if they want to put it on eBay and sell it for what they want to sell it for. We don't, as long as they're, you know, like they're not like misleading anybody. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Fair. Interesting. I then okay. Just as an extension of that question, when it comes to digital copies, it is there a similar formula? Because, and again, just to reiterate, so for the folks at home, if you have a digital or a physical copy of your book, when you're pricing it, think of what does it cost you to print, and then if you're trying to sell it in a store, bear in mind you and that store are probably going to have to split the cost plus whatever shipping if you have to ship it out to them. So you have to take into any shipping costs, the printing, and then what you're willing to take or what you're wanting to take home from it. Um, and then whatever the store would also want to take. So that's a fairly good formula for figuring out the cost of a book. When it comes to a digital copy, I'm curious, what do you think would be the go to?
Um, so that's a good question. I don't know how you decide to charge what you would charge. I would imagine it's probably like a third of the cost of what you charge the printed version for. So, and that's dependent also too. Like if you're putting it on your website, then it's whatever the cost of your website is. If you're paying like a monthly
Oh,
fee to
interesting.
have, like, so for example, you may
Yeah.
have like a shop with like Stripe or something in there, Connect, Square, whatever. So it's whatever Square would charge for you to, if somebody to, like download it, and what for the vendor to if they get charged for every time somebody right. So that kind of, it's, which is usually not a huge amount, maybe a few percentage points
Mhm.
off of the dollar, right? But then it's also whatever the cost of your site is. So you're wanting to, like, it's not pure profit with a digital, but it's pretty close to it, I imagine. So I would say, like, you can do anywhere from like a dollar to a third of the cost of the book, just for whatever reason. Um, so here's my theory on
Mhm.
digital and stuff,
Go
which
for it.
is, and there's nothing, I don't have any issue with people who do digital. It's just, for me personally, and this is why I also don't like sell my books online in print form, which is, I the amount that you are spending on the site and the amount it takes for you to, let's say, on a weekly basis, if you were to get that kind of, like, constant purchase of your books, that takes time, right? You're dealing with, like, going to the post office or to shoppers to ship it. You have to constantly purchase stamps, and to me, like, and the other part of it is, most of the time when anybody ever says to you, "Oh, can I buy this online?" 99% of the time people don't do it,
Yeah.
right? So you have a site that's sitting there, you're probably paying something for the shop itself, and very, very low amount of people purchase it, unless that's what you push. That's your thing. You're, like,
Yeah.
constantly pushing to buy from my store, to buy from this store. To put a lot of time and effort into it. It's not just going to happen overnight, because when people at a show say to you, "Hey, do you sell this online? Can I buy this?" They're just being nice. They don't necessarily. They're really not. Maybe in their heart they believe that they're going to want to buy it, but then they forget about it as soon as they, right?
Yes.
Or they've spent all their money, and then they don't want to spend anymore, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, I just find, unless you're of a certain status with, and there's probably people out there who have a much higher status level in regards to, you know like, let's say, for example, they're very well known for, like a Derek Loffman maybe has really good
Okay,
sales
yeah.
comes to, like, his books, because he's created this huge, he is focused quite a bit on his, like, Kickstarter, and building up an
Yeah.
email list, and probably sending stuff out to his followers that way, where they're like, "Hey," it's like, "Hey, I've got a special in my shop if you want to pick up these books." And so he probably does pretty well in that way.
Mhm.
um so there's that avenue, if you really want to go and put the time and effort. I don't care. It's too. I like selling to people. I like seeing them. I like having that interaction. I like having them hopefully follow me back and go, "Great, I love this book." Like, that to me is much more important and worth it for me to try to just focus on, as opposed to kind of watering it down and giving people permission to go. Because there are situations where I say, excuse
Ooh,
me, where
all
there
right.
are, like, people who will say, "Oh, well, maybe I'll buy this, if you have it online." I'm like, "I don't sell it online. In fact, I don't have a store for it, and therefore this is the only place really you can find me to do it."
Mhm.
Which is, like, I'm or I do enough shows that you'll be able to find me at one of the shows, which is often true. So
Ah.
I think I do get some people who will, because of that, they will, go, "Okay, well, then I'll just buy it from here," right? But otherwise, the other option is to do it through Amazon. And so Amazon, and I haven't looked into Amazon in a while. So Amazon, one of the reasons why initially, I haven't really wanted to use Amazon for, like, let's say, my children's books, is they have, like, their printing service isn't very good. It's usually, like, you have to use their template, and they do, like, a
Ah.
soft cover, and it's just, like, the quality of it isn't the best. And so I didn't want to, like, use their service to like, we have these beautiful hardcover books, and then somebody's getting these like flimsy kind of, I don't
Oh,
know, just to me,
yeah.
it's like, yeah, we could have made some extra money maybe from it that way. But I haven't looked into it in a while, so they may have improved the quality of their books. They may offer like hardcovers. I have no idea. I haven't ordered
Interesting.
anything from them in that way, but um, or you could technically do like digital as well with Amazon. And again, this is the thing about all those things is you still have to put effort into it. You still have to get people to want to pick up, like to find you there, and you have to like promote it. Hey, I'm on Amazon, pick up the book. So you're constantly pushing for that. And I would just rather focus on other things, right? So, I don't begrudge people if they have a shop and if it works for them, and if they're like, I know Sarah, my partner with the Imagination Factory, she has a bunch of her books on Amazon, and she says because she's got like a book that is for neurodivergent kids, and it's kind of a thing that people look for. She has no problem selling
Oh,
her book. She doesn't do anything.
it
She
just
always says,
goes.
like, I do nothing. I don't promote it, and I always sell those books every month, and I make a decent amount of money from it. So if you have
Good for
something like
her.
that, maybe you have some kind of a book that people would be looking for versus you having to tell them
Yeah.
where to find it, right? If there is that kind of book that you believe would appeal to somebody in that way, I would say maybe, yeah, look into Amazon. Um, so yeah, that's my take on it. Like I do have a store. It's more for like you could order children's books from it. As I mentioned before, I don't get any sales from it ever. I
Yeah.
think maybe I've had one sale over like the 5 or 6 years I've had that store. But because we have a website that like the service we pay for a service for my wife for her branding photography, it's built in. We don't have to pay anything extra for it because of that. So um,
Oh.
I don't. Yeah, but otherwise it's just one of those things where it's like I don't see the point for me to do that. Um and if I did make a little bit of money from it, I think it would just the amount of time to have to like um ship and all that stuff and the
Yeah.
stress of it. The other part for me is like the stress of somebody like receiving it and going, it was all bent up. And I'd be like, well, now
Oh,
I have to get them something. I have to like send them something else to make up for it. And I just feel like that kind of thing is a lot of time and effort that's not worth it.
oh yeah. Especially like, again, this goes back to like, if you're selling it for this particular book for $15, and five goes for printing, and then you gotta think shipping. What if something happens and you gotta send another copy out? Like, now you have effectively lost money on that sale. Um, all very fun things to consider when being a business owner and freelancer.
Yeah,
Ooh. Now,
it's catching.
yeah, yeah. Actually, hold on. I got some fizzy water here. This might in a second. Oh, it's gonna be flat fizzy water. Oh well.
Oh,
Oh well.
even better.
Yeah, it's got a weird taste. Anyway, one thing that I was thinking about, Keith, and you sort of mentioned it, where you like to do your sales in person at cons. Um, I've watched you. Frankly, I marvel at you for it. And I think anyone who wants to figure out sales should watch you at a con, even for like 20 minutes. And if they could emulate you, I think they would be very successful. So one thing I wanted to ask was, when it comes to being at cons, um, is there anything that you've noticed, the next generation of comic creators and I guess I'll say, this one, I don't want to say content creators, but artists. That's the word. I'll use artists. That you've seen artists doing that you want to add into your repertoire, sort of as a salesperson, as a con merchant, if you will. And then, is there anything that you've seen that they're not doing that you think they should do or would greatly benefit them, as like a general rule, not that you're supposed to generalize, but generally speaking?
Well, you mentioned Adriano, who runs Pesto Comics. I don't know about how he sells at shows. I've been around him at a couple of shows, but I haven't like paid attention to what he does. But
Mhm.
he is excellent when it comes to like marketing himself online. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
has his show, like a daily show where he's pretty good quality recording, some tidbit on the industry, and that
Mhm.
I think will help him um, become more well known, so that people will look for him at shows because they'll be more familiar with him. It's the same thing with, let's say, Jay Clark of Elegant Weapon, right? He's
Oh,
now
yeah.
uh, uh, veered into like selling his all those lightsabers, right? So now I've been around him when he's had like fans come up to him and go, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're here!" Right? And I just laugh. I'm like, "It's
That's
Jay," and
so
he laughs.
cool.
He's like, "I don't know, it's just me." But um, so like, I think if you are wanting to like get yourself a little bit more well known at a show, that's a way to go. Like for sure, doing something that people will recognize you for. The Pesto comic thing where he did a tour, like he went to all
Yeah,
these
his
shops
roadshow.
to do pre-order, and I think obviously, I don't know if he's actually talked about like how much time he took versus like the cost analysis of like what they were buying the book for. He may have just been of the mindset of like, just get the book in a shop. I'm not so concerned about like making a money from it, right? um and if that's what he's doing, I don't begrudge him that. That's his business model, right? um but something like that seemed to like really, I think, get people, I would imagine, being familiar with
Mhm.
who you are, and your book, and all that stuff, right? um so the things that people do at a show that they shouldn't be doing,
Ooh.
and we've talked about this, is if you, with the exception of you being a commission artist, because commission artists are a different breed, but if you have a lot of stuff on your table that you're selling and you aren't doing a commission and you're on your phone the whole time, and people are walking by your table and maybe you're not really acknowledging them, or everyone's oh, hey, and then just go back
Mhm.
to your phone, you're missing out on sales. And
Yeah.
I know why they do it. They want them to come to them. They want the person to go, "Oh my god, everything on this table is amazing. I need to stop and buy from you." Now, here's the thing that I don't think they understand. If they were by themselves in a room where nobody else was selling anything,
Mm.
they would probably have a lot of success. People would come right up to their table and go, "This is amazing. I love what you're doing. This is something I want to buy," right? And
Yeah.
in that case, sure, you can wait for them to come to the table. But at a show, there is so much visual stimulation that people are overwhelmed. They don't know where to look. All they want to do is just focus on one thing, and that may be something down the aisle, or they have something they're looking for, and they don't want to look at something else for fear that it'll pull them in from whatever
Mhm.
else they're. So those are the reasons why. It has nothing to do. The whole thing about them coming to you, I get it's an ego thing at the end of the day. And I'm not disputing the quality of your work. It's probably amazing. What I am saying is everybody else has amazing work around you as well. And
Yeah.
everybody, and all of those people that are there are either there for specific things, or something has caught their attention. And guess what's going to catch their attention if you want them to look at your work, is you holding a book up in front of them going, "Hey, how are you doing? Come on over here, let me talk to you about my book." And then like that will, 9 times out of 10, somebody go, "Okay," and they'll come walk over.
Yeah.
And then of those 9 times out of 10, maybe one or two of them will buy a book. But guess what? I was just at a show in Calgary. I had
Yeah.
maybe one or two people that knew who I was and were wanting to get a book from me. Everybody
Mhm.
else was new to me.
Oh,
Everybody else
wow.
was new to me. And on top of it, if I didn't say anything to most people, I was around amazing creators, and oftentimes people were just head. I was right next to the bathroom, so it's one of those things where people weren't thinking of stopping and taking a look at my work. I'm a new guy; they've never seen me before. They didn't know I was there. Why would they stop and look at what I was doing? Well, that meant I had to stop them. That meant I had to get their attention just for a couple of seconds and bring them over to my table. Right? You always do it ethically. You don't if they're as soon as they're in front of my table, I feel like I have a reason to acknowledge them to a degree. If they're
Yes.
talking to somebody else just by passing my table, I may not say anything to them. But if somebody else is looking at my table in their group, I'll call them over, and then it may call the other people over. But in any case,
Hell
you have to
yeah.
be careful about that, right? And then from that point, really, if you have social anxiety,
Oh,
putting
the
your
big
book in
one.
front of
Yeah.
you, saying hello, and handing them the book is all you need to do. You don't have to pitch them unless at that point they start asking you questions you feel comfortable answering. But otherwise, that's it. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, what am I going to say? And am I going to be charming? Are they going to like all that stuff? All you do is just go, hello, hold the book. You have it in front, you have it in front of you. It's eye level, right? That's the other thing. It stands out
Oh,
now,
interesting. Oh, fair,
right?
because if it's all on these tables, it's all like this, and all of a sudden you're the one going, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yep. You're bringing their attention over. So those things, well, I would say you can increase your sales by like 20 or 30% by doing it. Right? You have to work for it. It's not something that's going to be like you're going to feel tired by the end of the day because you've, like actually had to engage with people and stand quite a bit of time, and it takes a mental and physical toll. But that's how why are you there otherwise, right? You're
Oh
there to
yeah.
make money. You're there to sell. You're there to get your book out, or whatever it is you're selling out. And here's the other thing too. If somebody, whenever anybody does that to me, I generally will stop, just because I understand, like the fact that they're putting time and effort into, like acknowledging me. I always reward that. I always go, okay, I'll stop and listen to you, because that's what I do, right?
Mhm.
And I want to make sure I support people who do that, right? So, um, but yeah, so that's it. Like I just see that all the time. I see people sit, and then of course they complain. They're like, "Yeah, my sales weren't that good," and I always think, well, I know why your sales weren't that good. You didn't put the effort in, right? And
Yeah,
and their excuse
I
is
hear
always,
that.
yeah, but they have to come to my table, and I'm like, yeah, why? What? But it's not, you know, yeah, beautiful product, but everybody else does too. So get off your high horse and do the work.
I will say this as well. One thing that me as a con goer, not as someone who tables and sells, but as someone who's genuinely, I go to just about every con I can, and me being, hosting this show with you, doing Wednesday night reviews, I am inherently someone who wants to see indie comics, who wants to find the different thing, who wants to support people doing their own, projects and stuff. I will say, if you can, and again, if it's your first time, if you're super anxious about it, what Keith has said is 100% correct. Say hi, and if you can, put the book in someone's hand. Because if anything else, if you have a truly amazing book that you really believe in, when they start flipping through it, they'll probably go, "Oh, this is super cool," and ideally pick up a copy. Even if only 1 in 10 people does that, you're still ahead. Um, if you though can, please don't just say hi, especially if you're sitting. Like one thing I've seen way too many times, and again, maybe this is because people are burnt out on, you know, after lunch on a Saturday at con after the third day of doing this. But I have walked by a number of creators, especially in Artist Alley, where it's super congested. Um, and I'll be looking over their stuff because I like to, at the beginning of every con, my first day there, I'll walk every single aisle, have a look at everything, and let my mind process. Hey, that thing was cool. I like that thing from this booth over here, and that booth over there had a really cool poster or whatever. Um, and I feel that for me, as someone who's walking through and looking at what to buy and what to get, um, if you're sitting and I walk, and again, like this would be your view. If you're sitting and I walk by you, and all you're seeing is my chest or my big belly, and you just go, "Hi," it's not enough. Especially with the cacophony of sound of the con of the other stuff going on. So one thing I will say, Keith, and again, I don't mean to hark on or over compliment you, but I've seen Howard do it. I've seen you do it. I've seen a couple other people do this, and I think it's a great thing, which is you have at times seen people eyeing your table and they go, "Hey, do you like horror? Hey, do you like
Mhm.
sci-fi?" Um, because in the least they'll say no, and you're like, great, then you're probably not going to like your product anyway. If they say yes, you can go, cool, I have this sci-fi book, I have this horror book, um, and at least it gets them to step over, and then you can go check it out. If you like it, you can buy it. If not, no hard feelings. Like
Yeah.
it's just high isn't. I don't feel it does it. Um,
It's the
especially
bare
when it's
minimum. It's the bare minimum you should be putting in,
oh for
um,
sure.
and it does um, get somebody to actually look at you, and hopefully then focus on what's in front of the table versus like uh,
The
them
next
just
booth
beelining to the
over.
next. Yeah. So it's to your point. Yeah, you should be doing a little bit more than high. All I want really is for people to take those couple steps, like put the book in front, like stand up, put the book in to the side of them and say hi. And
Yeah,
those things are enough to at the very least get somebody to look at you. And
yeah,
one other step is to actually hold the book out too. Because like if you get somebody to go, oh, okay, I'll hold it. It's an ownership thing, right? So
yes,
you could say one word to them. If you can say hi, hold the book out to them, and they'll come over to hold it. That's probably going to guarantee raise the possibility of them buying something from you from 0% to at the very least maybe 50%,
oh
right?
yeah. Now,
Like it does a lot more work, right? So
oh
yeah,
yeah,
okay,
big
go
time.
on with what you're saying now.
So there, you mentioned something there, which is I find interesting, which is the idea of ownership, right? And the once you have someone holding something, once they've picked it up and it is in their hand, yes, they feel they have ownership of it. And you could get into like the hard psychology of it, but from the fear factor, the anxiety issues, one thing that I would ask Keith for any new creator watching who's not sure about doing that, about handing their book to somebody, um, in all the cons you've done in the I am sure thousands plus times you've handed someone a book at a show, how many times has someone taken it and walking it away without paying for it?
I've had one person that I can recall try to do that. Um,
Yep.
And I think it was a like I'm still not 100% sure if it was a brain fart on their part or if they were like um doing it. Honestly, I can't. I'm not sure. I don't know what their intention was, but yeah, I've had that happen maybe once. Um, I- sometimes sometimes people, and it's usually younger people, but sometimes you get somebody going, "Oh, it's free," and they'll pick it up and they'll start to walk away, and you'll go, "No, no, it's not free. It's for purchase," and they're like, "Oh." But again, and I just want to reiterate this: people are overwhelmed. There is
Yeah.
so much information going on that they're probably not thinking as clearly as they would if they were in a situation where there
Yeah.
weren't the crowds, right? They would be a little bit more aware of their surroundings and aware of like what they're saying to somebody. It's just like a deer caught in headlights with a lot of people. They're like, "What? How did this get in my hand?" Right?
Mhm.
Um, so I just always make the assumption that most people are either a yes or a maybe, right? So you don't take it personally when they're like, no, I'm not interested. It's more of like, I'm hearing no, not now, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you'll get somebody coming next time and going, um, oh yeah, I remember you. Sure, what did you have again? And then they'll buy something from you, right? So like, it's just, you got to get over the ego of, like, rejection. There's something wrong with my work,
Mhm.
or whatever it is that makes you fear hearing that no. And then you know uh, uh as I said, people are overwhelmed, so they may pick something up off your table, and I think very, very rarely is there some kind of, like, malintent with it,
Oh,
right?
exactly. And that's what I mean. So, like, if someone is new, or maybe they're not very good at sales and they just want to try something and they haven't got an idea of what to do, as Keith has said, hand it to somebody. Because, as they said, there's an idea of ownership to this where, the moment it's in someone's hands, they have control of the object. Um, Sometimes, for whatever reason, people are really reluctant to give it back. Um, And if you're selling it, once you've handed it to somebody, they now have to go, either I can give you a little bit of my money, which is often not a ton, especially if you're at a con, you're usually there to buy things. Or I have to give this thing that I now own back to you. And usually they'll probably give you the money. So absolutely, folks, do not be afraid. Like he said, maybe one person was going to take it. Maybe it was a brain fart. Maybe they just were like, "Oh my god," and he handed it to them, and they tried to walk off. One in the way you work, Keith, probably thousands. So yeah, don't
Yeah.
have a big fear about that. Usually, once you have handed someone your book, and I have had someone hand me their book, and I've looked at it, I feel very anxious about retaining it until I have paid for it. And if it's something I don't want, I very anxiously go, "This looks super cool, but it's not my thing," and give it right back. Um,
Yeah.
they're not going to steal it. It's okay. Um, yeah, that was something that I've always been, um, and I guess not curious about, but in the way that you pitch and how frequently you pitch, um, I was just wondering if, like, yeah, if someone ever nicked a book by accident. But like you said, maybe one. Well, Keith, we've got like 12 minutes to go before our hour is up, and you've drawn a whole scene. Like, there's some craziness going on here. Um, can you walk me through what I'm seeing? Like, I've got an idea in my brain of what I'm looking at, but I would love the artist's interpretation.
Well, I want to know what you think it is.
Okay, so you started off with when this drawing started at the beginning of the hour, 48 minutes ago. The being, the creature that is on this log, not log, it's not on the ground, it's a branch. Started off at what I thought was going to be like a little fuzzy dog. Um,
Hmm.
it seems to have evolved into a giant rat with a lemur's tail or some other animal, maybe I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
I've got what I'm gonna call a lynx in the foreground, looking at whom I'm gonna say is like a druid. It started off with these very beautiful robes, and I'm like, cool, like sort of wizardy kind of person, or it was like a spirit or something. I wasn't sure if you were gonna even give it a face, just a form. Um, and now you've got some sort of rather large billed bird. Um, but, like, it's just super foresty, and it feels super comfy, so my brain is gonna say a druid, um, maybe because I write and we were talking about, my writing, thing I've entered at, Bow and Chariot, um, but yeah, just awesome, and, like, even, like, the detail work on the walking stick, awesome.
You got it, man. I that always makes me feel good that, like, the thing I'm seeing is the same thing that other people are seeing. Like, I know you've watched me draw it, so you're probably coming at it with a little bit more understanding than, let's say, somebody who's looking at it for the first time. But even still, the fact that you, like, got everything that it could be a druid. I have no idea what that person is. I just thought it was, but a druid is like a kind of more of like a nature
Yeah.
attached, like human type, right? So I think that works. Like I wasn't sure if it was a male or a female or a little bit of both. I don't know if like what their job is, but I did want them to feel like they are part of the nature, like they're almost walking the steps they're walking, like moss is growing under their feet, that kind of thing,
Oh,
right? And maybe
right
I'm
on.
actually going to draw that there now that I'm thinking about it. But like, yeah, you got it. Lynx like creature, raccoon rat type thing, some kind of bird with a big beak. Like I don't think there's anything else I would say about it. And you can, like you're getting a sense of hopefully like I'm trying to make the this like tree branch kind of stand out a little bit more in the front. So it feels like it's like way in the foreground, right?
Mhm.
Um, but otherwise, um, I think you got it dead on.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear it. And obviously, Keith, you're very talented and able to communicate your ideas well. Um, Now, you've done something I'm always curious about. So, I like to dabble in photography more for fun than anything else. And I do like to take pictures with things, occluding my subject. So, in your drawing, you've done that. You've taken this branch, it's like pure black in the foreground, and it's occluding a quarter of your drawing, maybe a smidgen
Mm.
more, 30%. Um, what is it about that that makes an image interesting? Because I can't say why, but if I shoot a picture of somebody, because I really do like, now that I want to say it, I can't remember the term for it, but just honest in the moment shots of people. And sometimes,
Editorial or journalistic, like it's editorial.
yes,
It's usually journalism, that kind of thing, where you're getting like somebody doesn't necessarily posing for you. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just catching you in your motion. But when I do that, I do find if there happens to be something in the background and then something in the foreground actually blocking your vision ever so slightly, the image is just more interesting. Keith, what up with that?
Well, you're creating like depth, right? You have something that is close to you. You're getting something in the distance. You're getting something in the middle there, and that kind of makes for a more interesting image, I guess. I mean, that's not necessarily always the case. Like sometimes images that work really well are just like something right in the middle, and you have very little in the foreground and the
Mm,
background because you're focusing on that. When you have something, I think also I'm drawing it diagonally in the foreground, so it's also pointing towards the character in a way. So I'm
yeah.
using the composition to work for me, right? I'm having like that stick that the raccoon creature's on. It's leading towards the person walking, right? Like the Lynx like character is kind of like posing right in front. Like all those things are drawing your eye hopefully towards the this druid like character.
Mm,
Um and so um the if a good photographer will also block, they'll see these things, they'll go, okay, so I want to be able to make it so that we're focusing on the subject I want to have focused on. So I need to have something maybe in the front that like,
mhm,
helps me guide the viewer towards that thing. Um, and that I always say to anybody who's taking a photo, you want to tell a story, right? That's the big thing. What is the story? What is the story you're trying to tell? And so a good photographer will have that in mind when they're looking. It'll be either instinctual or they'll if they have a little bit of time, they can set it up in a way.
right on, yeah.
Or if you don't know, if you just shoot it because something tells you it's a good photo, but you may shoot it a couple different ways, a couple different angles. When you're looking at the photo, the series of photos, you may look for those things that tell the story better, right?
Right on.
So
Yeah.
those are all things that may, happen that make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's just photos are a little different than obviously what I'm doing, right? Because I'm actually I'm very much manipulating your eye, and I have to um, build it. Whereas a photo kind of it's already there. You just have to see it, right?
That's a nice way to put it. And in our comments, Leo has mentioned it creates context, which I think absolutely, especially in a photo where you're capturing the existing whatever it is, the background, the foreground, maybe it's motion, action. Um, Absolutely, it can add context and help create that story. Um, Love it. I just love composition, and anytime an artist can guide the eye, I know they're a good artist because they figured out what they need to do to make me actually look a certain way or add a certain thing. And that's talent. That is something very difficult to do. And any gamers out there, you will know this. Video games do this all the time uh, when they want you to go somewhere. Specifically, though, they will use, for some reason, yellow on ledges. If they're trying to make you climb somewhere, they will put yellow paint or yellow coloring of some sort on a window ledge, on rocks. They'll highlight them somehow so that you know to climb, or red barrels. Any gamers out there, you know what a red barrel does. And yeah, that's just guiding the eye and using known signals or known compositional language. Maybe that's the best word.
I mean, that's compositional language. I think works. Sure.
Yeah, but love it. Well, then, Keith, we've only got a couple minutes left. While you finalize details on this amazing sketch, why don't you tell people where you'll be and what you're doing for the next little bit, where they can come get your book, like this one that I'm holding, Repo Nut, Book One.
Yeah. So I'm actually coming off of like a stretch of shows that I've been doing that I did, and so I have a few weeks off of decompressing a little bit on the weekend. But then my next big show is TCAF, Toronto Comics Art Festival, which is Toronto Comics and Art Festival, which is, I want to say, June 6th and 7th. It's like the first week of June, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, so I'll be there, and it's at the TMU's like athletic center, which used to be the Maple Leaf Garden arena.
Oh,
So it's their second year there. So I'll be there again, and then I kind of don't want to say yet because I'm not 100% sure, but I may have a show, just like a single day show the weekend after.
oh, okay,
And,
right
and
ahead.
then I've got a 3-day show in Collingwood called YetiCon, which
Yes.
I'll be a guest at, and I'm doing a bunch of panels, and I'll be exhibiting. Jen's gonna be there with me, so she'll help me exhibit.
Ooh.
And then we're gonna try to do like another of those cosplay live drawing events.
Oh,
Um,
hell yeah.
yeah, so that one I think is like the 19th, 20th, and 21st. So it's the right at the beginning of summer. Then after that, I was just asked to join the Hamilton Comic Book Foundry, which I'd never heard of
Ooh,
before, but it's like some kind of like a bunch of like cartoonists and stuff, I think. Anyway, they're having like a single day event, and that's on the Sunday, I think, the next weekend. Um,
interesting.
and that one is like, I think it's like 10 to 5 or something like that. And it's I think it's at, is it at Mohawk? Yeah, or no, it's at what's the other school there? Oh, I'm blanking on. I'll think of it in a moment. It's not at Mohawk. It's the other school that's starts with a Mac.
McMaster?
McMaster, thank you. Which I've been to. I've done a couple of things there.
Oh,
Um,
okay, cool.
and then the week after that, for July 1st, for Canada Day, I believe I'm going to be at Wayside.
Right
There's like
on.
an outdoor event. I think that's still happening. I haven't heard anything, uh, but you know, it's way off. So I'm sure I'll hear something sooner or later. And then after that, I think July 11th. It's a Saturday, I believe. I've been invited back to Dungeon Comics for whenever their events are. So that's right now. I've got a bunch more shows that are going to be happening. June is pretty much all booked up, and I've got a few shows in July. And then after that, I may or may not do any more shows until Rose City in September. I don't know if I'm getting into Fan Expo Canada or not, so I haven't heard yet if I am. But if I'm not, then I may just either
Rest.
skip that and take the month of August, mainly take the month of August off, and then restart again with a bunch of shows in September. So.
Awesome. I mean, Keith, it's great to hear you're keeping busy. But yeah, be sure to take time, rest, enjoy this weekend. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems, thank you so much for tuning in to My Sketchy Goodness. Keith has again drawn us an amazing drawing. We've had a great time talking. So please do like, comment, subscribe for more. Go check out Imagination Factory with Keith and Sarah. Super cool show where they're making a comic in real time. And